And this will be available probably on the Modesto-Stanislaus Poetry Center YouTube channel after a while. All right, let me do something really fast. I'm going to spotlight myself. And poets, I'll be spotlighting you as well when you're doing your reading, so that way you will be the main face on the screen. And attendees, you can play around with your view on Zoom by clicking the view icon, which is in the upper right hand corner of the black viewing window, and you can choose speaker, and that highlights whoever is speaking. Also, you could put up gallery, and that makes the Jeopardy square, not Jeopardy, the Hollywood squares. And so, you can control the view on your end. All right, so I am so pleased tonight to introduce our first featured poet, Ian Miller. Ian Miller is a California poet born and raised in a little town called Oakdale, which we all know about. He's the author of June 30th, 2022, published by Lulu Press this year. And he recently also published his collections Neon Promises and Neon Promises, Pinky Promise Edition. He's currently working on 2 more projects. One is titled Nothing's Changed, and the other is Gertie, Bear, and Bugaroo, a mother and son project. Sounds interesting. Ian currently works at the Modesto Junior College's Library and Learning Center as an instructional support assistant, primarily helping to supervise the writing and embedded tutors. He's also working towards a double major in psychology and English, with the end goal being to enter into higher education. And I'm going to put a link to Ian's books in the chat shortly after he starts reading, so be sure to click that and check out the books that he has available for sale. And it's really nice when we can support our local authors. All right, Ian, thank you so much for coming tonight. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Stella. So earlier this year, I really started writing a lot of poetry, and it had always been a dream of mine to become a published author. So with that, I decided, what the heck? And I split my poetry up into 2 books. And so I'm going to share some of the poetry from that. The first few are going to be from June 30th, 2022. And then I have a few afterwards that are going to be from Neon Promises, specifically Pinky Promise Edition, which has an extra 25 poems in it. And then if I have any time afterwards, I wanted to share some poems that have yet to be published. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the first one, which I titled One and the Same. I wish to embrace you like the ocean embraces the beach, and at where it meets, there is no disconnect. As the beach becomes part of the ocean, and the ocean becomes part of the beach, and like the sea and the sand, I wish to become synonymous with you. So most of my poems are really short. There's nothing fancy to them. They're very quick and to the point. My next one is titled, Please Stay. I thought you'd be the one to stay, but I guess I was wrong. Because just like that, you walked away, and my heart became cluttered like a kid who hasn't cleaned his room in months. And when I tried to make room in the chambers, I found that the walls had peeled and mirrors had shattered, and all the paintings were crooked, all except the one of you. When I saw it, I couldn't touch that room, because that's where you stayed, and it's all I have left of you. So those 2 were found in June 30th, 2022, and June 30th, 2022 really focuses on love, grief, and depression. It's about longing for someone who is no longer around. So if that's something that interests you, I highly recommend June 30th, 2022. But with that, we're going to transition into the main selection for tonight, which is Neon Promises, Pinky Promise Edition. So this first one is the very first one that is found in the book, and it's titled LOSE. You were still alive, but you might as well be dead, because this silence is haunting. You disappeared into the Cascades, and I was left stranded here on this beach, where I have become a blood brother with the waves and loneliness, and the sand sticks to the bottom of my feet, finding its way into scars and calluses I did not know I had. You were not here to guide me, or tell me to put on sunscreen, though we both know I will not listen. Because I will talk about how I do not burn, but tan. It is okay this time though, because the sky is neon, like a closed sign, but the C and D lights are out. So I will just sit here and go deaf from the nothingness that exists again, with no warm hugs to silence my mind, and no kisses that give me life. You really might as well be dead, because then maybe this loneliness would be bearable, and I know that at least you are doing better wherever you are. So that one really focuses on the idea that someone that you really wish is still around is no longer there, and you're not really sure where they're at anymore. They've just kind of disappeared from your life. And so you're curious as to what they're doing and how they've been doing. This next one is the title of the book, is Neon Promises. I stare up at the painted skyline, reflected off the waves and the setting sun, telling me that it is closing time. My mind is a mirror to those neon signs that begin to flash in the sky with the nightlife that has begun. Yet here I am on that damn beach again, wondering what I could have done differently, what promises I could have made that would have led me to holding your hand just a little longer. Your hand was an empty vessel that whole time, and maybe if I had reached for it like humanity reached for the stars, we would have achieved something even marginally as exceptional as the moon landing. No, instead, you are alone on a crowded sunset beach, and despite the love of your life beside you, you're feeling like you found your way into the cold depths, with no lifeguard on duty. You are being dragged under by the current, and no neon promise is going to bring you back up to the surface. This next one, which I've titled God, is about looking for something bigger in everything that is around you and trying to find meaning in things when sometimes there really isn't any meaning. It's just simple in design. I recently learned black holes are less of a thing and more of a place that goes around helping to shape the universe we live in, creating whole galaxies. This thing that we find scary, that consumes and devours, it also creates and shatters the ethereal plane into millions of pieces, ripping the fabric of the space blanket apart, creating stars and dust particles that clump together to form planets, entire galaxies, solar systems, universes. And there you are, a singular person, a speck in a vast ocean of pitch black, circling the drain on a dying planet, broken, beautiful, but loved, and trying to find God in everything. So this next one is quite possibly my favorite out of Neon Promises. And it's about the simple things about someone. It's about their favorite drink, driving down to go meet them. But you realize that that person no longer is around. And so you have these memories that kind of hurt, but they also feel really good. It's titled Go-To Order. I still order the drink you picked out for me. And as if I'm reading from the Bible, I know exactly the words and the order to tell them in. Iced chai tea latte, 2 shots of espresso, substitute for oat milk and a pump of brown sugar syrup. I sometimes order 2 just to get the coffee stains around my cup holders in my car again, as if somehow when I get to my destination, it'll be like you never left. And similarly, this one that follows is also about those little memories. It's about driving down a road that you used to drive down often, but you had a destination when you were driving it, and now it's just a drive. It's titled Mitchell Road. I used to drive down to Mitchell to get to your place, and I always knew once I hit the freeway off Ceres, the one that connects Turlock to Tracy, I was halfway there. I now take East Briggsmore or Sylvan and head northbound down 99 to take Maine into Ripon. I appreciate the long drive, but I miss those bumpy roads, filled with potholes and trailer trucks that went 10 under, and cars that did not know how to properly merge. So traffic became congested like a kid with a cold. Now it is just 80 down a freeway and not a single ounce of thrill. And the destination, It is not as rewarding as it was, at least, not when you were my destination. And this final one from Neon Promises, it's very similar in design as well. There's a common theme with Neon Promises, and it's about memories. And this one is about driving late at night and coming home from someone. Dusk Sky Drive. I used to drive home in the dusklit sky where Christmas lights would peek through a sunset blanket, and I would stop and stare at the raining ball of fire and wonder. There was motivation behind those hands that gripped the steering wheel tight, and my mind might as well have been one with the car as it raced through the streets, wondering which lane would be the fastest to your house. All I knew is that if I kept the North Star in my rear view, I was heading to you, into snake-constricting arms that suffocated my demons. I miss those drives, especially the ones where that purple-black blanket sky was scattered with milky spills of gray, and those white Christmas lights shine brighter than before. Those nights meant I spent an eternity with you, and we had beaten Father Time. Had you asked, I would have become one with your comforter, and you could have held me like a stuffed animal. Instead, I find myself driving home in that same dusklit sky, but the bulbs seem dull, and there is no wonder in that great big ball of fire, except the thought of chasing it to the edge of earth and screaming at it to bring you back. It never does, and so I race home to lay in my empty casket bed, partially hoping you would be there in your old lady car, waiting for me. So if you enjoyed any of those poems, those ones can be found in Neon Promises, and some of those are directly in the Pinky Promise edition. But these next two that I'm going to read are from, they have yet to be published. They're going to be in Nothing's Changed. This first one is titled 1930s. It's beginning to feel like the 1930s because I've hit the Great Depression, and I'm feeling like the Dust Bowl, empty and with little to no growth. Like the stock market of the times, I'm crashing, and I'm heading for a recession because there is no worth or value to anything, and no point in investing the time and effort into myself. Give it a decade, and I may hit prosperity, but I'll need to make it through these times with cheap tricks and ways to survive, and maybe I'll come out as part of the greatest generation, or maybe I'll just be another mortality rate statistic. Whatever it may be, I'm preparing for war, one with myself, and the outcome will be the deciding factor, one that will bring the world to its knees, at least the world around me. No matter whether I win or lose, at least I decided to fight for something better. But until then, I have to suffer just a little longer. And then this next one, give me a second to find it. I'm using my phone for this, so it's going to take a little bit.
That's okay. I just wanted to let you know we are totally good for time. So
Perfect. This is the last one. So this last one is it's about realizing that someone is gone. And again, it's a common theme, simple memories, but these memories are good. And you use these memories to continue to get through the rest of the day. It's titled Dancing in the Rain. We had a summer rain this morning in what has been 100-degree weather. And despite this phenomenon, teardrops in July, I find myself thinking of you and how excited you'd be to be touched by water that falls from the sky, letting each little droplet bounce against your skin as you dance in the rain. I can see you running out there, jumping up and down, because given storm heat and thunder, you'd be out amongst the clouds, gray and withering, but fluid like the surrounding rain. I never got the chance to join you because it never rained when we were together. And given the opportunity, I'd have sat in my car with you and listened to the pitter-patter of God watering the earth garden, us like flowers in dusk, lavishing every moment in the weather. I sit alone in my car though, the subtle drone of the engine, as my car stalls in a lot, listening to some music that others would find depressing, my comfort songs, trying to drown out the thumping of water hitting my roof, waiting for the right time when I can get out and walk with false confidence through my work doors, doing my best not to associate you with the rain that beats against everything, including my broken heart. So those last two will be found in Nothing's Changed, which doesn't have an expected completion date yet, but I'm hoping to have it out early next year. Otherwise, these other poems can be found in both June 30th, 2022, as well as Neon Promises, the Pinky Promise edition. Thank you so much for listening. Oh, I went dark.
Thanks so much, Ian. Yeah, that's what happens sometimes when you have those motion activated lights. Thanks so much, Ian. I really appreciate you starting us off this evening. And folks, if you didn't get a chance to look at the chat, open your chat and look and see. There's a link to where you could purchase Ian's titles that are for sale. Thank you so much, Ian. I know that you have to get going pretty soon. So usually I tell everybody, like, hold off on your applause and we'll clap for everybody later, but I'm just going to do it right now. So thank you so much. And, you know, feel free if other folks want to unmute and like we can let Ian hear our appreciation for him. All right. Well, it's always awkward, isn't it, on Zoom? Okay, Ian, thanks again. I'll make sure you get the recording.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, thank you. All right, folks. So now, before we go to our next featured reader, I just wanted to give a little bit more information about that workshop that I talked about. And that is the Kai Coggin workshop on Saturday, October 1st. It starts at 10 a.m. and it runs until 12:30 p.m. It's $20 per person. I just wanted to read Kai's bio. Kai Coggin, I said Coggins, but it's Coggin without an S, is the author of 4 poetry collections, most recently Mining for Stardust by Flower Song Press. Kai is amazing. She was awarded the 2021 Governor's Arts Award. She is a teaching artist in poetry with the Arkansas Arts Council and Arkansas Learning Through the Arts. And she's an associate editor of the Rise Up Review. And so she lives with her wife and their dogs in Hot Springs National Park in Arkansas. So that's who we have teaching our fall workshop on October 1st. I strongly encourage you to go to mostpoetry.org and look under the events and register for this. It's only $20 and you're getting an amazing 2.5-hour workshop. And you'll probably get some good drafts started, I'm guessing. Okay, thank you for indulging me on that. I'm going to now introduce our featured poet, Gary Thomas, who has been a poetry friend of mine for so many years. I think when I joined the writing group, the Licensed Fools, is when I met Gary, and he's been at it for a long time, and he is a fine poet. He taught 8th grade language arts for 31 years and junior college English for 7 years, sharing and discussing at least one poem each day with his students. He has presented poetry workshops for statewide organizations, festivals, and conferences. He has had poems published in the Grove and the Comstock Review, among others, and in the anthology More Than Soil, More Than Sky, the Modesto Poets. He is currently the vice president of the Modesto-Stanislaus Poetry Center, thank you, and is a member of the Curriculum Study Commission and also of the local writing group known as the Licensed Fools. A full-length collection, All the Connecting Lights, has just been released. It was published in August of this year by Finishing Line Press. And of All the Connecting Lights, V. Herrick, author of Scar and Flower, has written that it's a marvel, an homage to the unnoticed and ordinary, a tender and sweeping reckoning of childhood, nature, the mystery of epilepsy, and how our lives and memories intersect. Thomas sees nuances and symmetries that most of us don't. I reveled in the joy of staying lost and the grace of spring rationales. I've been waiting for this book. It is a chronicle of wonder by a truly gifted poet. Please welcome Gary Thomas.
Thank you, Stella. Thank you. As I was choosing the playlist, as it were, I realized that a lot of the poems here are about education, what gets learned, what gets forgotten, and how. So I'm going to start off with a poem that I wrote when I was in my 8th grade classroom, and I was having to do that horrible thing that teachers often have to do, which is administer a standardized test to very creative and intelligent human beings stuck there. The poem is called Even This Day, and it opens with a rather lengthy quotation by Kenneth Patchen. Excuse me. If a poem can be headed into its proper current, someone will take it within his heart to the power and beauty of everybody. But before that happens, we will sit in lines of 6, all facing the front, our eyes focused on our booklets, our sheets with small circles, our pencils grinding pockmarks hard into the faces of our desks. We will pretend for familiarity's sake that any of this matters, that our time is well spent, that if we were to connect the dots, a poem about architecture would appear, perfect in its geometry and reason, it's beautiful and strong as a cathedral, a cataract of stone and holy water. Anyone reading this after we have done breathing should know we were as alive as if we had been singing or drifting on small rafts, heading downstream, staring straight above at all the connecting lights. This is a poem about being in 6th grade. Back in the days when teachers hung paddles at the front of the classroom. This teacher did not hang a paddle. He had a 2-foot yardstick, which I know seems like a contradiction in terms, but he called it his deuce stick. Deuce stick. 6th grade teacher with the name like trauma hung it from an 8-penny nail next to the blackboard with 3 yellow chalks made from the ground bones of 35 students. 2 feet long and hurts like the devil, his way of advertising the upcoming to us just before one of us, doubled over a desk, got it. The thwack, the wallop from the special blonde ruler made of Louisville Slugger ash, repeated 10 echoes worth, preparing us for each day's deuce stick, double whammy, special report, duplicate memo, binary code we get now. Only I never learned whatever math problems I needed to know in 7th grade, so I have trouble counting the number of times we are hurt, especially in centimeters. This is about a different sort of education, one provided by my father. Oakbow education. The arrows I knew when I was 8 were made by my father from leftover flooring, extra tongue and groove scantlings, dense planks of oak and maple, and as he sawed them thin and whittled them round and smooth, I breathed in the redolence of their grains and his labor, knowing that each was being fashioned for me alone, that he would fletch and notch the nether ends with jay feathers and great care, sharpen and varnish the business ends, as he called them, each finished shaft mine to aim and find the center of hay bales or lose in the weeds beyond. From this I learned, of course, craft and responsibility, which were the real points. And when he turned his hand to the shaping of a bow selected from the same woods, showing me how he glued alternating strips of oak and maple, let them set and cure all day, then planed them, the curls and coils collecting on the sawdusted floor, followed by finer carving and notching, showed me how to brace the finished bow properly with the buckskin bowstring braided from a discarded bridle. Let me make the maiden pull and aim and détente. I learned the next lesson of a father's love, the creation of the useful, followed by the letting go. Now, I always loved astronomy, even though I had difficulty understanding it. This one is called original astronomy. I am from the space between the two largest almond trees on any farm in Leckran Road, where I learned to climb and fall and climb again, pretending each time I could fly and look down at the green shiver of the leaves, even the birds below me settling to snack on the unripe almonds. Since I could not fly, I settled for teaching my nieces and nephews to scrape their kneeways to the top of one tree while I clambered to the top of the other, where we would call to one another, pretending the space between us was planetary, and we, like the almonds, were stars linked in the constellation we would name Lekron. And there were birds on the riverbank in 1958, singing and setting up shop for the day's business of swooping and stealing from our orchard the first fruits, bitter and unforgettable, thoroughly intoxicating. And there, glinting in the first really hot day, empty white port and Tokay bottles, abandoned on levees, clear evidence of last summer's harvesting. Here and there, I can see where they were. Men who climbed ladders and bent low. Women who were quiet, nursing babies in old cars. Older kids learning to pick and fill pails. Dust always drifting, clinging to their voices. And there were dark songs in the morning. Mockingbirds and magpies taunting, daring the sky to outsing them, swearing by all rivers and canals they knew that this spring was theirs. And there was no one who could argue, no one who was not drunk on dawn and ready to float among trees, choosing the likeliest peach, the perfect time for songs always there. Another kind of education. I had 5 half-brothers. I was the youngest, and now I am the only one left. The morning of my middle brother's funeral, wind chimes woke me, followed by a rattle of tiny white Christmas lights against a brimming rain gutter, a storm announcing itself. Today, soldiers will shoot guns 21 times over the body of my brother, sometime between 10:30 and 1100, army time to the end. Later will be food prepared by ladies from the circle, another service in a stern brick church with kin and other survivors weeping, scavenging for some words that make some sense. Then more food shared, words we speak through the code of grief, some laughter over some joke he'd told long ago, or the last time he could. Then some long, dry silences punctuated by other strings of lights, rattling their own code, deciphering the storm. All I can hear now are wind chimes, the way we all know this music of gaps between notes, a duet of air and earth. In Lee Herrick's blurb, he mentioned the fact that I have a condition called epilepsy. This poem is called On Being Caught and Falling Down. The Hmong explanation of epilepsy is the spirit catches you and you fall down, which is also the title of a wonderful book by Anne Fadiman. On Being Caught and Falling Down. Tickle, tremor, tongue still, eyes swallow all they see inside, all that lights the outside. First hits, whiffs of adolescence, My full share of grand mal seizures, unseemly treatments, electroshock sessions with the bit in my teeth, a quack psychiatrist scratching cold notes, winding down to petit mal, lightheaded a minute a month or so, and so passing through to the episode this morning. Unlike youth, not blacking out or seizing, more like stepping into grand waves of gray electricity, someone picking me up by the shoulders, rotating me gently, horizontally, 360 clear degrees, so I can see all around me. It gets my full attention. In a moment, things gone dormant awaken. Headline already attached. Caesar shakes hand with Satori. And I am livid because I do not want to fall down that rabbit hole again. Do not want to relearn the lesson that will save me from myself, the alerted, the startled, the irate, the sedated. But I relent at last and bring this epileptic news from one who has been caught too often. We abandon as much of the anger as we can stand and still live. Fear and resentment at lips' gates. Let gods play their parts, make some sense of it all, then doze clear through the night, as if nothing had happened, as though only sleep had caught us, and morning would always arrive. Here are a couple of poems about relationships. This one's called either lux or luce, depending on how you pronounce the Latin word for light. Finding our way, let me start again. Finding our broken way home, we found the flashlight your father loaned us, rusted, in need of new batteries, black and heavy as our doubts about the trail through slender moonlight. We were lost after all these years, knowing these footpaths. All right, we can manage, we told ourselves, despite the smirk your father gave us with the torch all those rusty dozens of years ago. The candles came 12 to a box, and we lost some, didn't we? And we bought more, didn't we? And our boys never knew a birthday without candles, without hearing the longest song in the world and being reminded they were dear to us. Then came the year the cake smoke rose, and we stumbled to the switch plate, and the bulb barked, all its allotted light spent. Only the full moon led us to the matches on the mantel. The sullen flashlight, meanwhile, in a drawer, feeling cheap, dismissed, unremembered. We found another bulb nestled beside the lone light. We tried it, found it bright enough for another birthday, another reason to celebrate by extinguishing flames. Earlier this year, we let them burn without a birthday. Lined up along the windowsill, the ones we had left, the trick kind you can't blow out, no matter how, even if you wanted. On a whim tonight, we walk outside. Another moon-bright evening, down to the canal, side by side and nearly silent, familiar with our imagined faces, carrying the flashlight, hoping it will be enough, carrying a votive if it won't, finding the path by beam and flame, using all the light we have, finding our broken way. Reshaping meringue. We were walking through rooms of castles we'd built in the exosphere, using metaphors as patio furniture, unaware we'd stripped the threads, that some assembly required meant just finger tight, no more. I never learned to bake, you complained, and I miss it. I wondered how you missed something you never learned, then remembered how much I've always wanted to sing in tune and can't. I miss that too. Egg whites and sugar beaten stiff as a Haitian drum. Let's let ourselves do the pie dance. Worry about what beads up later. And one more. This is for anybody who's ever read at an open mic. This goes back some years to where I attended a kind of performance poetry open mic. It's called Marcel Marceau at the open mic. They are used to reading their work this way, these young poets who brandish their splintered screens, scarcely containing their need to read what they tapped 10 minutes before taking the stage. The more rehearsed read their Anne Frank raps, their epistolary anger poems with air stabs and Emily references to the one or ones who abandoned them, including their muses, their rhymes coiled into snaky couplets, defiant and proud enough to say, "Thank you," when they're done. Some of them forget there's a microphone in front of and not surrounding them. Their shock words that shout become mummery or alternate between full on and lost to the ether. To clap or to finger snap, that was the poem. And I, the elder who appears to chide and be snide and glib enough to ad-lib my years, as if I were not this old because I was that young. I was their young words once, just without a screen to wield or a stage to take over. Their visions of justice and the candor to carry them out. Only I didn't enough. And my poems are as long as my time here isn't. And this poem wants to say to them, your voice is worth your best words. If you can truly believe that, if you can stand to listen to mine. And finally, for now, I promise I will listen deep for yours. Then some more again. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, Gary, thank you so much. Beautiful. I tell you, like hearing you read these poems now, I think this might be the third reading that I've attended of yours, you know, and it's gorgeous, and they just keep on, they're not just growing on me, but like they're unfolding for me in a certain kind of way. So thank you so much. Beautiful. Folks, I did put in the chat, if you would like to purchase Gary's book, there's the information in the chat. You might have to scroll up. I will paste it in there again, because if you just came in, you don't have access to that. So I'll repost it in the chat in just a moment. So Gary, thanks. Folks, if you want to unmute and clap for Gary, I think it's, you know, Zoom readings are just so like one-dimensional sometimes, and it's really nice to have some noise from our audience. So you can go ahead and unmute yourself and go, yay! Yay! All right, so there's some messages. I couldn't be the only one doing that. I appreciate that. So if you'd like if you'd like to stick around, we have an open mic. We have 4 individuals signed up for the open mic. And if you didn't get a chance,
Ooh, Stella, you're frozen.
Yeah.
You're frozen, Stella. Usually I'm the one frozen.
Maybe if we all go to mute, that might help the bandwidth.
Usually I just turn my image, just turn it off to my image. That helps, but it's her. And also we just had an exciting earthquake here, so I'm a little. We had a 4.5 in Santa Rosa. So things might be disrupted.
that was certainly interesting. so my computer just turned off and yeah, wow, cool. That's the first time that's ever happened. Well, I'm really glad that it seems like everybody stuck around. So yeah, good for you guys. I appreciate that. Not sure if I missed anything, but I was just going to introduce the open mic. And I think I had left off with, if you didn't get a chance to sign up on the online form, please just drop me a little message in chat and you can absolutely read. So our first poet that we have is Salvatore Salerno, a Modesto's Poet Laureate. Welcome, Sal. Sal, you're muted, so we can't hear you yet. Sorry.
Sorry about that. I wasted that whole thing. So anyhow, half of you know my poetry and know that sometimes if I feel the rough, we live in kind of a rough urban habitat, and I don't always like to write about that. I like to go back, turn my heel, and go into more pastoral poem. And this is one of those. In silent conversation with, I long to be a simpler man, or rather let that happen. And so I turn my face to where nothing human there is made, but myself, and keep its silence. I happened on some lichen green and fibrous on a tree, and said, with no sound, for merely being there, you deserve no less space than me. I meet a swallowtail butterfly, see its antenna and yellow stippling, and form some words inside. Who am I to stand high above such a completion as this? I chance upon a darkling beetle scuttling along its armor, and my body had a thought. It is not on any rung. There never was a ladder. I hear a vireo eye to red eye in bright song on its perch, and a feeling takes shape. Here well before me, this is your more equal place. I follow the drone of a skimmer, its crimson sheen and woven wings, that leads me to sheer belief. Respect is due, that formerly it took flight with dinosaurs. I met a moment of wind poppies, orange patterned across a field, and agreed with my sight. There is no reason to add or to have in other ways. I reach out to a white fir trunk, feel of its rough streaked bark, and wordlessly brought in, ancient and deep, the secrets you keep. I am a mote beside your time. When I return to my old self and return from every place there, I am mute, yet filled with words. I am both smaller and larger than. When I weary of the hard city with all of its clever clutter, I turn on my heel again to seek where butterflies have their ways, where flowers nod to the wind, where the moss and lichen lay, where birds spin songs from air. More and more often I long to linger on moments there, when for a slender sheaf of time, I am still, grateful not to speak, but only happen in it, where I am a merely human being. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sal. That was great.
Thank you.
Oh, I really like listening to that. All right. Our next poet for open mic is Mo Hurley. Hello, Mo. Are you ready to go?
No, yes. We had an earthquake, so I missed the first part of the reading. Okay, weathering the drought. Let the fog roll in on the ridge on little cat feet, and let it be a cliche, but also let it curl around the trees to remind them that the half-life of a drought is not forever. Let the redwood remember this, and let them dig deeper and remember to hold on, because the soil's parched throat speaks of ceaseless journeys. I lost my place, of rivers, trees I have known a lifetime, turning brown with sorrow. Let them not weep. Let the rivers not forget their serpentine story, whispering old secrets amid the rocks and the sandbars on that journey to the ocean. Let the cat curl up on the doorstep and wait for the windowsill to greet the sun. Let the sun rise above the billowing fog, and let the trees sing. Let them sing of the coming rain. Thanks.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I was totally getting into it there. So there was an earthquake just with the first part of the reading.
Yes, my iPad fell off the wall. I was trying to put everything
Really?
back up.
That's pretty, that sounds serious.
Yeah, it was it's probably the Hayward fault, because they call it the Rogers Creek fault in Santa Rosa. It was 4.4, 4.5, but there were two.
Wow. Oh, I wish I could have felt it. I love earthquakes. Okay.
I do too, but it was a snapper.
Sounds like it. Well, thanks, Mo, for sticking with it and
Thank you. I'm
joining
just
us
sorry I
tonight.
missed the first part of the reading.
It was good, but we've got it recorded, so I'll let you know when it's posted. Our next open mic poet is Ben. Hi, Ben. How are you doing? Ben Baxter Bry.
Hey, how's it going?
Great.
It's really nice to be amidst so much talent tonight. So thank you guys for all sharing. This is a piece entitled Planet 9, and it goes as follows. In galaxies of newfound time, do you skip stone on Planet 9? Are you lonely on your planet? Are you lonely on the fringe? Who am I? I stand for all. I stand for strength. I stand for pride. And I stand for mine. For women who can't, and for men too afraid to beat the beast and to watch him drown. The him I speak of told you lies. The him I speak of needs to die. Because it never was true, and it never was fair. So think of the benefits when you could script your own life. Think who wins when you're quiet. If it doesn't make sense, that's probably because you're too pale. Your silent spot, now you're on sale. For I am the physical embodiment of euphoria, sent here to create. I hide in sight, appear in the night, up here in the sky, up near Planet 9. Thank you.
Wow. I was trying really hard to put a little heart reaction in there. So good. Thank you. Plan 9 from outer space. Wonderful. Wow. I need like a moment, like just a little tiny buffer zone after that. That was beautiful and deep too. Our next and final open mic poet for tonight is Linda Prather Nelson. Welcome, Linda. So happy to see you.
Hello, it's good to
Hi.
be here. Can you really see me?
I cannot see you.
Oh, I don't know how to do that. So
Okay, that's cool. Just go ahead and we can hear you though.
yeah, I want to share a poem from my newest book, Searching Shadows, Finding Shade. And this is called Placing Stones. Well, Lord, I'm up before the others, sitting in the sun under the ponderosa pine, morning light gentle on the landscape, illuminating the garden, phosphorescent in its glow and green transparency, my feet on the stones of Susan's backyard, my toes tickling the long pine needles gathered here. Bird song and sanctuary, morning dove and brown, wren and sparrow and hummingbird. In the house, 2 parakeets, one green, the other blue. Susan always liked the feathered ones. Me too, but I'm more inclined to look for those that are bigger and harder to see, difficult to know. I hope they come, visiting on occasion, at least. Maybe they accompanied us yesterday when we laid Mother's remains in their final earthly place under this sprawling tree. Susan, Sumner, John, and me finishing the job, placed our chosen stones on top with relief and genuflection. Strange sort of work, saying goodbye, giving things up to final rest. And I'd just like to read just one more short one called Listening from the same book. The mourning dove insists on her lament, refuses to be comforted this side of Sunday, this side of heaven. And I wonder what her specific grief is. It may just be a collective moan and the tune our world carries, but does not display as beautifully. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Linda. I'm so happy to know that you have a new book has it just come out?
Well, it's been out a couple of months.
Oh, okay. Well, that
I've
seems
been
new. That's still new to me.
Yes.
Oh, great. I can't wait to hear more from it.
Okay,
Thank you so much
Thank you for letting me share.
for reading tonight. Is there anybody else who didn't sign up for the open mic who would like to read a poem? There's a couple more minutes left in the reading, and
Stella, may I say something?
Of course.
I think we had not talked about isn't the Great Valley Book Fest coming up in mid-October?
Oh yeah, thank you for reminding me. Yeah. On October the 8th, we've got the Great Valley Book Fest that's happening in person at the same place that it always is, in the Promenade part of shopping center, I believe it's called, but I know it as the Bass Pro Shop parking lot in Manteca. So there's a great big book fest. There's a poetry stage, and many poets will be there reading, including Sal and Gary and Linda Scheller and some others. And they have a website. It's gvbookfest.org. And they've got bios of the poets up, but we're going to have other poets like Lee Herrick reading, and a poet named Ruja Mohasasi, who has a newish book coming out, and Tamer Mustafa from Stockton. So there's going to be some really interesting voices there. So thanks you so much, Sal, for mentioning that. So October 1st is our fall workshop with Kai Coggin. Then the next week, October 8th, is the Great Valley Book Fest. There's a poetry stage there, but also there's a bunch of other really cool book-related things going on. And then Tuesday, October the 11th, is the October installment of the second Tuesday reading with Texas Poet Laureate Cyrus Castles and James Moore as our featured poet. So thank you so much, Sal, for reminding me about that. Yeah, I can't believe I just skipped right over that. I was thinking only of events that we sponsor solely, but this is a partnership with the Great Valley Book Fest. So I wanted to finish up the reading with a poem by Dean Young, who passed away towards the end of August. And so I'm always so surprised by his poems, especially the endings of his poems. And I think just as a little tribute to Dean, would be nice to hear his words. So this is called Scarecrow on Fire. We all think about suddenly disappearing. The train tracks lead there into the woods. Even in the financial district, wooden doors in alleyways. First, I want to put something small into your hand, a button or river stone or key, I don't know to what. I don't have that house anymore across from the graveyard and its black angel. What counts as a proper goodbye? My last winter in Iowa, there was always a ladybug or two in the kitchen for cheer, even when it was 10 below. We all feel suspended over a drop into nothingness. Once you get close enough, you see what one is stitching is a human heart. Another is vomiting wings. Hell, even now I love life. Whenever you put your feet on the floor in the morning, whatever the nightmare, it's a miracle or fantastic illusion. The solidity of the boards, the steadiness coming into the legs. Where did we get the idea when we were kids to rub dirt into the wound? Or was that just in Pennsylvania? Maybe poems are made of breath, the way water, cajoled to boil, says, "This is my soul freed." And that was Dean Young, Scarecrow on Fire, from his book Fall Higher, which was published in 2011. R.I.P., rest in peace, Dean Young. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Again, I'm always so appreciative of you being able to take out an hour of your work week to be here in this poetry space together. I gotta say, I really do love these intimate readings. Thank you so much, Gary, for featuring tonight and reading your beautiful work. And thanks to all the open mic poets who read and everybody else who came. You are truly wonderful and I appreciate you. All right, everybody.
Thank you, Stella. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye,
I
everybody.
have a real quick question.
Sure thing.
So just because of me working, I came in late and I didn't get to see all of this.
Uh-huh.
And I know that you guys are recording it. Is it possible to get the recording, or is that just not?
No, yeah. We Tiffany, we'll have it posted. We're gonna upload it. I'll upload it to our YouTube channel in a few days, and then I'll post it on the Facebook page for Modesto-Stanislaus Poetry Center. So that way, if you follow us on Facebook, you will have access to that link. So does that sound like a good plan? So
yes,
okay,
I
great.
don't currently follow you guys, but what is it so I can follow you on Facebook?
Modesto-Stanislaus Poetry Center. And we post all of our events there, so that'll also help you kind of look ahead to other things that are coming up.
Perfect.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks for coming tonight. All right. Take care. Bye, y'all.
Bye.